and welcome to Gears and Grease. On today's video, we're going to be doing the oil change and valve adjustment on Mr. Clean, the Chrome machine. We've got just under 400 miles, so it's about time to do the valve adjustment and oil change. If you're intimidated by this job, you don't need to be. If you can use a measuring tape, turn a wrench, hold a screwdriver, you'll be fine. Hopefully after watching this video, you'll have the confidence to do so. Without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, so let's get to it. I promise you, you don't need any special tools or even need to own a snap-on shirt to do this job. One of the first steps that we're going to do is take the fuel tank off. So we're going to need to take this cover off first so that we can get to the bolts that are here beneath the seat. You just turn the key to unlock it and pull down to release these two tabs here. Next, we're going to remove the seat. In order to do that, we're just going to pull this pull here and lift up on it. Here we have our two 10mm bolts. Okay, now that we've removed these two bolts, we're going to lift the tank up and remove these two vacuum lines and this electrical connector. There is also a fuel line here that is a quick disconnect type that we're going to disconnect. Top tip, this is a lot easier if the fuel tank is empty, which this one is not. With those disconnected, now you have a little bit more room to get to that connector right there. You're just going to pinch the two sides here and pull up off of that hard line. We've still got another connector here. All right, with that disconnected now, we're just gonna pull the tank up and off. Oh, watch out for the fuel. Okay, so now we're gonna remove two 8mm bolts on this side as well as the other side. Also gonna remove the spark plug lead. All right, we're gonna use the ratchet to go ahead and remove all of them now that we've broken them loose. Okay, now with them removed, we're going to lift up on the rocker cover and then pull it towards us. Okay, so we couldn't take the rocker cover off because this ABS pump is coming in the way at the bottom. So it's just a 4mm Allen key. We're gonna go ahead and loosen that up and see if we can get enough clearance. All right, it's finally out. Next thing we're gonna do is set the engine to top dead center. We're gonna take our 14mm Allen head socket and ratchet and stick it in here on the clutch side. Crack this loose. This is just kind of like an inspection cover where you're gonna gain access to the bolt for the crank to set the timing. Take our 17mm socket and ratchet with a small extension on it and rotate it to top dead center, located on the crank here, or the cam here. We're gonna rotate the engine till that L lines up with that casting mark right there. Okay, now that we've got the engine lined up with the marks here, we're gonna check the clearances. This here is called a feeler gauge, and this is the spec 0.08mm for the intake side and 0.18mm for the exhaust side. So when you're checking these, you just want to feel a slight drag in the clearance, which is going to be right here. You want to make sure there's a little bit of oil on there. There we go. That's what you want to see right there. Just a slight drag. Should glide in and out real nice and easy like that. It is a little loose. We're going to tighten that one up. Get a little bit more drag in there. It feels like it's a little loose. So how do we do that? Gonna loosen up that jam nut and then just tighten that just a little bit. Gonna take our 10mm wrench here and just crack the jam nut. Just want to glide it back and forth like that. Wow, just a little bit really tightens that up. That's good. Right there. We're going to tighten that back up and see what it feels like when we get that jam nut tight. It moved when we tried to tighten it up there, so we're going to just try and tighten that clearance back up a bit. So this is exactly what we're looking for. A nice glide back and forth, not loose, not tight, just Goldilocks. Just like that. You want to continue to check it as you tighten it and make sure it's not binding as you're tightening the lock nut. There we go. Perfect. This here is definitely loose. We're going to tighten that up just a hair. Let's check our exhaust again. Perfect. Gliding, not binding at all, not loose. Same thing with this side. Gliding very nicely. You can hear, hopefully, the drag on that. To set the timing on the right hand cylinder, we're going to turn the engine until our R lines up right here. So there it is. Now let's move on to the right hand side. It's definitely loose. Alright, so let's tighten up this side. We're just making really fine adjustments here. Don't want to make it too tight. Oh yeah, that feels a lot better. It's gliding in nice and easy. Let's go ahead and lock that down. Alright, we're going to take our 14mm and tighten this inspection cover back on. Alright, we're going to get ready to put our valve cover back on. I'm just going to clean any excess oil off here. It's kind of a pain taking it off. If I struggle putting it back on, I'm just going to remove these horns. It's just a 12mm nut and bolt. The gasket was giving me a hard time. I removed it and went ahead and just laid it on the valve cover. I'm going to try laying the valve cover back on the head and seeing if that goes any smoother. Alright, we're going to tighten down our 4mm Allen head bolts now. I'm going to plug in our spark plug leads. I'm going to grab our fuel tank now and get that connected and fit. So the reverse of what we did to remove it, we're going to put our green connector on first. Put our high pressure fuel line. Going to push it on until it clicks. Our two vacuum hoses. our electrical connector. Now we've just got to tighten up our 10mm bolts for the gas tank here. Alright, we're going to put our seat on next. Just want to push it, slide it forward, press until you hear that click. We'll put on our cover. Job done. Alright, so we've got everything back together. Now it's the moment of truth. We're just going to turn the bike on, make sure that there's no fuel leaks, make sure that there's no oil leaks, make sure our fuel sender works. Alright, our fuel gauge looks like it's working. Can't really see any oil leaks or smell any fuel leaks. We're going to leave it running for a little bit. Then we're gonna go ahead and change the oil. Okay, now that we've done the valve adjustment and let the bike idle for a little bit, ready for the oil change. We're gonna take our 13mm on our ratchet and just loosen up our drain plug bolt, which is down here. So this bike has a magnetic drain plug. You can actually see the metal filings from the break-in process. While that's draining, we're going to go ahead and remove our oil filter. That sucker's on there. For whatever reason, Royal Enfield really likes to tighten out these oil filters. So we've got our special removal tool here. Just went to AutoZone and picked this up. Wow. It's so tight you can't even get it out with a tool. That sucker was incredibly tight. We're going to straighten the bike up and see if there's any more oil that will drain out. While we're waiting for our oil filter to finish draining, we're going to fill this new one up with some oil. You also want to make sure that there's no old gasket here, which there isn't. And you want to take some oil and just lightly coat the O-ring. And you only ever want to make these hand tight. You don't ever want to, you should never need to remove the old oil filter off with a tool of any kind. You should just be able to spin it off by hand. People talk about the quality of Royal Enfields, and it's really nice that they have the magnetic drain plug on this. I don't remember my Hondas ever having a magnetic drain plug. Put our oil filter on also so it doesn't drip on us. Gonna fill our oil up. Takes about 3 quarts. 3.1 is what the manual says. So we're gonna put 3 in, check it. Now that we have oil in the bike, we're going to lean the bike over straight and see where our level is. This lower mark here is the low level. The higher mark here is the high level. You want to be more than low and less than high. Right there looks pretty good. I'm going to start the bike up after we put the filler cap back on and see where the level's at. You're also going to want to wipe down any of the messes underneath or by the oil filter where we removed that. And then we'll start the bike up, make sure that there's no leaks. So as we're leaning the bike over, we're seeing that it's below that minimum mark, so we're going to go ahead and add some more oil to it. Well, that really is all there is to the first service. You do want to definitely check and adjust the chain if it needs it, clean and lube it. There are a couple of items that I didn't cover in the video, but this is the main gist of the first service. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please do like and subscribe. There are going to be a lot more videos coming. I have a lot of accessories that I'm going to put on, and hopefully have some rides planned. So stay tuned for that. Stay dirty, friends.